Plus, Las Vegas becomes the training ground for America's swiftwater rescue crews. You watched as stranded drivers were pulled to safety during this summer's floods. Tonight, the Crime Tracker 3 team shows you what it takes to join the swiftwater rescue team.
Welcome to the real world of what happens to you. This is why we emphasize stay out of the water.
See what they go through and how you can help when disasters strike. When a water disaster strikes Las Vegas, emergency responders jump into action. They could be faced with any number of tasks, from rescuing someone from a wash to helping someone get out of a car covered by rushing water. You never know where the flood's going to happen, so the more people prepared to respond, the better. That's why agencies across the nation are recommending swiftwater rescue training for their crews. That training takes place right here in Las Vegas, and the Crime Tracker 3 team got to participate.
This is now the second victim we've seen live.
This is the second most amount of rain we've ever had
from the floodwaters there.
One shower.
Have you heard of any
in
more?
Las Vegas.
There's the woman being airlifted by Metro Search and Rescue.
They risk their lives hanging from a helicopter to pluck panicked victims off flooded cars. We see them as heroes, but this group would prefer that other emergency responders share their skills.
I would like to see every firefighter and every cop have some type of basic swiftwater rescue training, even if it's the awareness level, even if it's what not to do.
We need to be aware of the dangers of water and the dangers of water rescue.
It starts out innocently enough. A day in the classroom for 55 people from different agencies around the West, mostly California and Nevada. An eye-opener about the power of water. We learned specifically what not to do.
This is the fundamental of everything we do.
We practice the knots that will keep us secure. It's preparation for the hands-on training that's to come on day 2.
Good morning.
Okay, so it's not exactly Mother Nature's playground, but it's wet and wild enough to suit our purposes. It looks like fun, but there are important lessons for us would-be rescuers. First and foremost, stay out of the water if possible.
It's a staggering statistic that the majority of the deaths in a swiftwater rescue situation are rescuers.
One of the biggest things you learn is it's really not necessary to go jumping right in.
And the power of water is hard to imagine unless you experience it firsthand.
When it knocks you off your feet, it's a little different.
This is an unmistakable eye-opener.
Top speed on this will run somewhere between 7 and 9 miles an hour, depending on the pump and how well it's working today.
The Willy Willy ride doubles as a swiftwater simulator. It's only 1.5 feet deep, but as you're about to see, that doesn't matter.
There's been times where less than 4 inches of water have taken people down.
The key is establishing 3 points of contact with the ground and moving one part at a time. It's called a shallow water crossing and would come in handy if you had to get to someone stranded in a car. The tile floor is slippery.
But I got news for you. Out there, asphalt with silt on it is just as slippery as this.
And our floodwaters move much faster.
The average speed of our washes, they're telling us, is roughly 17, 18 miles an hour. They've been recorded over 25 miles an hour.
Learning to cross as a team isn't much easier.
Welcome to the real world of what happens to you. This is why we emphasize stay out of the water. Rope! Grab the rope!
So we learned some dry land rescue options as an alternative. An integral part of the course is being able to throw a rope to a victim who's in trouble twice in 20 seconds, just like this. Rope! Grab the rope! This is the ideal situation. Throwing a rope and pulling a victim to safety. But it doesn't always happen this way. The closer the rescuer gets to the water, the more dangerous the rescue becomes. So how do we prepare for those situations? It's training that could help save your life when my special report continues tonight on News 3 Nightside.
That was something to watch. That crew that got stuck in that last flood, they're never going to live that down.
They are not, you know, that slide that you saw in the video is now part of the training course. So it's, again, what not to do, unfortunately.
And when you go whitewater rafting, the first thing they tell you is when you go out of the boat, because you're probably going out of the raft, and everyone in our boat did, is go feet first, right?
Because that way you can kick off obstacles. For years, Las Vegas has seen 2 major flood events. And as a result, emergency responders are recognizing the importance of swiftwater rescue training for all of their personnel. I had a chance to actually take the class that trains firefighters and police officers, among others, how to respond in these situations. One of the first things they taught us is to stay out of the water, if at all possible. But if you do end up in the water, it's important to be prepared.
Santa Barbara people, raise your hand. San Diego people, raise your hand. We're going to go over our basic swimming position. We're going to talk about ferry angles. Then we're going to move on to towed swimmer, which is pretty much grabbing a person.
Let's go swim.
Good job, guys.
Important skills for any first responder. The students in this class are a diverse group. About 10 of them are firefighters from the Nevada test site.
A lot of people are surprised. We covered 1,300 square miles at the Nevada test site. We have a lot of washes.
Others are resident Metro officers in the Overton-Logandale area.
We had to perform a rescue a couple years ago of a person that was driving to Alamo that drove on State Route 168 and wound up in a wash.
Even firefighters from California.
We have a swiftwater rescue team. We're trying to beef it up. So we have a big contingency here.
First order of business, proper swim position. On your back with your feet in front of you, so your feet can act as a bumper in case you encounter any obstacles in the water. In order to get out of moving water, you need to find an eddy. That's a fairly flat and calm area of the water created by an obstacle or outcropping.
Turn around and start swimming against the current, and you hopefully should vector right into the eddy.
All right, swim like that.
It's an easy thing to practice in Wet n Wild's lazy river.
The next thing we're going to practice is we're going to practice what we call towed swim. And that's not T-O-A-D, it's T-O-W-E-D.
Essentially helping a victim swim out of the water. In a real river or other body of water, there's no telling what you might encounter. This is what you call a strainer. It's anything that allows water to pass through or under it, but traps solid objects.
Come on, Jay, you're fighting for your life. Let's do this.
If you approach a strainer this way, you're out of luck.
Part of this is to show you that if you don't do it right, you won't survive.
When you get close to the strainer, you have to roll out of the swim position into a crawl position. Swim as hard as you can and go up and over the obstacle.
Good job, guys.
Going down to the gas station, right?
Boats provide another rescue option, and boat handling is an important part of this class. For example, you can use the buoyancy of water to pull victims into the boat. As rescuers, you need to save yourself first. What if your boat fills with water or gets flipped in a rapid?
We're going to cover a method on emptying your boat essentially while you're out in the water.
We learn how to flip the boat and have some laughs while we're at it. In the end, though, this is serious stuff, and we get a chance to put all those skills to the test in one final exercise.
We're going to have a couple victims in the water. The goal is to get the victim out before they die.
Why don't you guys get a couple of people, get a rope, get a throw bag out to that person, and get her in.
Your victim is mentally ill. She's been drinking again.
Let's get that backup plan right now.
Hey, hold on to her!
Students are expected to take this knowledge home and practice it. And they're not the only ones who reap the rewards.
The long-term favorite is when I pick up the newspaper and I see a picture of a fire crew in California or Oregon or Arizona doing a swiftwater rescue, and I recognize some of the guys, and I think, okay, that's what makes it worthwhile.
Now, after this 3-day class, technically, I am certified as a swiftwater rescue technician. As a journalist, I feel like this is an invaluable skill because I can now bring you in-depth knowledge of what rescuers are doing when a flood situation strikes our city. I certainly hope that this story helped bring you a new appreciation for the power of water and the tremendous risks taken by rescuers who attempt to save you from a swift-moving stream or flood channel.
She was a loyal member.